Cool.
If you are just joining, my name is Barrington Miller. I am here with
Mm,
Jen Drake,
mm,
COO of Air Strategies, as part of our Cannabis
mm.
month. It's now, uh, we're calling it now 520 instead of 420. It was supposed to be a week, then 2 weeks, then three
Mm,
weeks. So we just made it a month. And
Right.
we've been privileged and fortunate enough to talk to various CEOs
Mm,
of the multi-state operators as well as the Canadian operators.
mm,
I don't know if we have any international that we've done on Instagram
mm.
Live, but we've definitely done podcasts as well. Uh, so yeah, that's
Great.
so. Is this your first time doing Instagram Live?
It is. It's my first time. So sorry if I
Awesome.
make any Instagram live faux pas.
I faux pas all over the place. It's
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about you. Um,
Yeah.
why why Air Strategies? How did you get there?
Mm.
Where are you sitting right now?
Um, no one's going to complain and cry for me. I'm very lucky. I am out on Long Island near the beach in a little town called Sag Harbor. Little cottage, great place to hide out from the COVID situation, but very excited to get back to the office and get back to kind of business as usual. It's been a long couple of months, I think, for everyone.
A very good friend of the CSE, Bob
Mm,
Power, who's with
hmm
OTC Markets. He's from Long Island, and
I've
he's
talked to
just
Bob
a fantastic.
actually.
Bob
He's
is
our
the
coverage.
best. Like I,
Yeah.
I I can't say enough.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to Bob Power. He's great. He's been super
Bob
helpful to
Power,
us.
Long Island,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
beautiful human being.
Yes.
So, uh, what's going on? What's going on with Air,
Mm-hmm.
and how are you guys doing during this time?
So this is, I mean, COVID has been a challenge for a lot of people, certainly. I think in the cannabis business, it's actually been one of those times when you really see the strength of the industry. So it's been a couple of things. First of all, it's been amazing to be designated an essential business across the country, which really just highlights how mainstream cannabis is becoming. So that's been great. It's been great to see the consumer demand consistent and increasing over time. We saw some big spikes in kind of demand coming into COVID in March, and we've actually seen a real consistent level of demand since then. And I think that has borne out what a lot of people thought, which was that cannabis would be a great business a great defensive business, a great business to be in a recession. And you've really seen that play out across where
So,
we operate. Yeah.
um, the your audio
Mm.
is
Ooh,
sticking a little bit. So, I just wanted to make sure we got that last point. Do you
yeah,
think you could just repeat that,
sure.
please?
Totally. So first, we've seen cannabis mainstream. It was
Yes.
designated essential industry, which has been great. The second is that we've seen the demand from consumers be very strong, consistently strong. And that's something that we had, at least in our business, we always thought that cannabis would be very resilient in a recession, a very defensive industry. And we absolutely saw that come through during COVID.
It's almost being described as recession proof, maybe.
I, you know, you can say it. I don't want to say
I
recession
don't want to
proof.
say it. Like I'm sitting there saying it like this, going,
Yeah.
but
You know what? I would say people characterize alcohol as recession proof. What I would say is you've seen cannabis be as strong or stronger than alcohol. So proving itself to be defensive, proving to be one of those things that consumers absolutely consistently want, regardless of the market environment, and candidly, in tough times, probably want even more. Uh, and so that's been a great thing for us as a business to see, because it bodes really well for the future. Now, in our specific states,
Yeah.
Massachusetts and Nevada, we we joke we drew the short straw in terms of those two states being the two most restrictive states as to how you could for your cannabis. Governments of those two states were just very protective of their citizens, wanted their citizens to be safe, so really limited the ways that you could deliver cannabis. And that was hard on our business in March and into April. We had to entirely retool, especially our Nevada business. Taking a step back, Nevada was a storefront only market coming into COVID. And then overnight, it turned from a storefront only market where delivery really wasn't even allowed, to a delivery only market. So for us, the first 6 weeks of COVID were a blur because we were building a delivery network from scratch, and essentially our
Wow.
revenue went to zero in Nevada, and we had to build it back up to, today we're at a position where our revenue is a little bit lower than it was pre-COVID, but our EBITDA is actually at or above the pre-COVID levels in Nevada because of the changes we've made to our business, which is just an incredible result when you think about that.
We've had the pleasure,
Mm.
the CSE team has had the pleasure of visiting one of our issuers in Nevada, Planet 13. Not
Yep.
only Planet 13. There's also is it BAM? BAM, yes, Body and Mind.
Okay, yeah.
And so we saw that the storefront. I'm not going to call Planet 13 a storefront; it's a Costco.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we can appreciate the switch. It's like an 80 to 90% turn from people coming into now you got to get it out.
Yeah.
And how are you getting it out? Are you using drivers, Ubers?
So it's interesting because we went from, again, zero
Yeah.
to upwards of 1,200 delivery transactions per day within 4 weeks of the change, which is incredible. We got a fleet of 50 cars, we insurance, changes in our delivery model, fulfillment, people, technology. We had to entirely change our tech stack. So huge heavy lift. And fast forward to the beginning of May, the regulators in the state actually changed again and allowed us to do curbside pickup for the first time. So as we sit today, we went from we went from 1,500 transactions per store, so about 4,500 transactions per day in the state of Nevada, to zero, back up to 1,200 in delivery, and now we're back up to about 3,500 transactions per day, of which maybe 150 are delivery, because everybody is now coming to curbside, and the stores reopened a couple of weeks ago. So now we're about half and half between the stores and curbside. But because we made those changes to our business, our fulfillment model is so much more efficient. Our tech is so much more efficient. Our people are so much more efficient. Because of all of that, we're able to do, again, as much EBITDA as we did before on a third less transaction activity, which means when we get back to the previous levels of revenue that we had in the state, because our margins have expanded, we'll be able to actually generate more EBITDA than we had previously thought was possible, and leaving us in a much better position as a business.
Is there a way that you might
Great
be able
job of
to
that in
adjust?
Nevada.
Oh, Jen, we're kind of losing you a little bit.
Yeah.
It's getting a tad glitchy, so I just want to make sure we don't we hear everything.
Yeah.
So you're operating in Nevada. You mentioned Massachusetts. Massachusetts closed their adult. Is it their adult use?
That's right.
And one of the things that
Mm-hmm.
we had discussed when we were talking with Joe Lasardi
Mm-hmm.
was part of the decision may have been directly because of COVID and to slow the movement down uh, across state
Mm-hmm.
lines. Um, but Massachusetts is really, really has a big potential as well.
Massachusetts is going to be amazing. If you look at the state and what's been going on so far, it's annualizing at sort of 400 or 500 million dollars in sales currently. That compares to Nevada, which is currently about 750, maybe 800 million kind of run rate. So it's already half the size of Nevada. But think about there is only one store of any size open in Greater Boston. And Greater Boston has 80% of the people in the state of Massachusetts, plus most of the tourism, right? So you haven't even really seen the demand in Massachusetts yet, and you're already at 50% of Nevada's demand. So it's going to be a great state, without a doubt.
Let's backtrack. You
Hmm.
are currently the COO of Air Strategies.
Hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got here?
Um, well, I'm originally from Ohio. No, just I am actually originally from Ohio. But
Go
so
Buckeyes.
exactly, yes, thank you. Um, so I started my career on Wall Street, doing M&A banking. Did a lot of kind of different work in kind of in finance over the years, specializing really in difficult industries, in kind of highly regulated, complex corners of asset management, and then had the opportunity to join with a group of people that I've known for better part of 20 years who were involved in the very first cannabis SPAC. Now cannabis SPACs seem to grow on trees, but ours was absolutely the first.
I'm gonna
Um,
stop. I'm gonna stop you right there.
yeah.
Can you tell the audience what a SPAC is?
Yeah. So it stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Corporation, but what it really is a publicly listed private equity vehicle where you essentially raise some capital in the public markets with a plan to go out and acquire businesses in a certain industry. And it's not so different to a lot of to the way that some of the other cannabis companies have raised capital, except we did it in the public markets as compared to them. Most others did it in the private markets first and then went public. Why is that important? It's important because we raised the capital in December 2017. We were, very kind of lucky to get off. Sometimes you need a little luck in life. Lucky to
Yep.
get our capital raised just prior to Jeff Sessions pulling the coal memo in the U.S. And
Oh
that kind
yeah,
of made
we
people a
remember
little bit
that.
exactly. That's a little bit nerve-wracking. We just got in under the wire, but so we did a lot of hard stuff to get there. But what's really key is in the beginning of 2018, we had 100 million of capital to deploy, 100 million US, and we said, what is the best strategy to address the cannabis market in the US? Not sort of what can we get? We'll apply for this license here, kind of throw it up against the wall and see what
Oh,
sticks. We
okay.
said, we have 100 million. We want to build the best company that we can for the long term. What does that mean? And what it means, it meant for us, and it continues to mean, is we want to be cash flow positive. People thought that was crazy. Why would you ever want to be cash flow positive? We wanted cash flow positive businesses, best in class operators. We wanted to be in states with limited license regimes where you could be vertically integrated so you could maximize your efficiency, and states where you were either recreationally legal or about to be recreationally legal. And for us at that time in 2018, meeting those criteria, which are really the ingredients to being cash flow positive, meeting those criteria really meant investing in Massachusetts on the East Coast and Nevada on the West Coast. And that's how we came up with our initial portfolio, because we see cannabis as a highly regulated, capital intensive business. And just like either cable or fiber or cell towers, those are the businesses that are historically most analogous, we think, to the cannabis business. So capital allocation is really important. Being cash flow positive is really important. And it is what allows you to turn a difficult environment like COVID from a challenge to actually an opportunity. This type of environment is what we built our company for. And we, as much as we joke and we say we drew the short straw in Massachusetts and Nevada, the whole point of our strategy for choosing the companies we did and the initial footprint that we did was so that we would be able to weather these difficult periods, add cash to the balance sheet. We even added positive cash flow to the balance sheet in April of this year, which is just amazing. And it puts us in a strong position to build our footprint at very attractive prices from here.
I really hope that the audience who's been following the CSE on Instagram and these Instagram lives can start to see and draw comparisons between various operators and companies and see the similarities. Like I'm sitting here just trying to, I don't want to explode all over the microphone, just going, see this and listen to that. And they're talking about cash flow and EBITDA and strategies and best in class and the people that work for it. Like these are all bellwether signals. We're not giving investment advice. It's not that kind of show. But you can definitely see you can draw a correlation of some sorts. Now, how are you reaching out to get new business during this time?
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that we spent a lot of time on from kind of March to now is deepening our digital engagement with our consumers. We've always had great in-person engagement, particularly in Nevada and in the stores in Massachusetts as well. But this has been a really great time to take a step back, reassess your kind of digital engagement strategy, and put your best foot forward. So we've re-engaged with our customers in a lot of different ways, everything from upgrading our websites, upgrading our online menu offerings. When you think about coming into COVID, almost every transaction we had was at the store. When you think about now, the vast majority of our transactions actually begin with an online order. That is entirely different. Entirely different.
You didn't see that coming in January 2020.
No, and I mean, listen, I think it's also a huge testament to us that we were able to entirely change kind of the origin of our business over the course of a 6-week period. It's really been it's been so impressive. It's been, as a leader, it's been an incredible thing to be part of and to kind of push forward with our team. I mean, the first thing everyone thought when COVID happened was, okay, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my family? What does this mean for my friends and the people close to me? And then when you stop for a moment, you think, everyone else is thinking the same thing. We're all in this together. And keeping our people safe, keeping our communities safe, keeping our customers safe, those are the most important first things to do. And then beyond that, roll up your sleeves, get going, and do what needs to happen in order to keep people employed in your business. We didn't fire a single person through this entire process.
Wow,
and we're super proud of that. Super proud of that.
I would roll up my sleeves, but I'm not wearing any.
You already did.
So you mentioned leadership, and that's great because we've asked this question with various leaders. Your leadership style, has it changed? Is it changing? Are there things that you will carry forward from this experience in running Air Strategies?
I think that I think it just reinforces the things that we know to be important. We know caring about your people, putting yourself in their shoes, being empathetic with the people and customers that you touch every day.
Oh, there's a pause.
That kind of connection to the community. I can see it before you can, actually. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah, we're back? Okay. So
We're back. I
the
hope.
connectivity to
Yeah.
people, I think so. I think so. The connectivity to your people, putting yourself in their shoes, being empathetic with them, with your people, your team, your customers, your community. Those are all the things that you should be doing every day. And those are the things that, as we went through this difficult period, we found were incredibly beneficial to us as a company. It really helped us rally the troops, roll up the sleeves, and make these incredible strides in our business over a really short period of time over the screen, not even in person. And the fact that we've been able to do that just reinforces the importance of teamwork, of every member of the team matters, of listening to all the voices. No one has a monopoly on the best ideas. And when you run your company like that at every single level, we think that's where you build strong teams, and strong teams are what allow you to really push your business ahead. And pushing your business ahead makes it so that when you come out of something like COVID, you're stronger, your teams are more cohesive, your culture is that much better. And talent in this business is hard to find and important to keep. And having a great culture, we think, is super important to the talent part of the equation. And so we're very pleased with where we're coming out from this. I don't know if it's new, but I think it just reinforces what we knew to be the right thing.
Well, speaking of culture and doing the right thing, Happy Monkey just joined the podcast.
Wonderful.
We were, that's the intersection of corporate and culture. And I'm sure you two groups will connect at some point. So shout out to Vlad and Ramon. Let's go back to how we met in person. For our listeners, I was walking through RBC Plaza when I used to go downtown, and I ran into a good friend of mine and colleague, Graham Farrell, and there was this lady beside him, and me and Graham were talking, and then he's like, "Oh, this is Air Strategies. They have recently come on to the stock exchange," and I was like, "Oh, well, I haven't met Air." And
we should meet.
Hi, Jen. I'm Barrington, and I think we hugged and we danced and we laughed and we cried, and
we can't hug anymore.
No, we can't. No.
Very sad.
But you've been very, very engaged. Now I just kind of want to dip a toe into. We weren't your first exchange that you went to and chose to be listed on.
Yeah.
Where were you before, and why the move?
Well, we, as a SPAC, we could only make our initial listing on the NEO. And and I know that the CSE has been working on SPAC rules, is what I understand to be
that is correct. SPAC coming to a Canadian Securities Exchange near you.
Exactly. Word on the street is end of this year, but that was a pre-COVID word on the street, so I don't know if it's
SPAC
still
coming to a Canadian Securities Exchange near you.
Got it. The regulators, when they stop working for 3 or 4 months, the government stops working. What can you do? But so we initially listed on the NEO because it was our only option as a SPAC. And in terms of the transition, just so many of the cannabis companies are on the CSE. A lot of our investors were keen for us to join the CSE for that. You hear something from your investors enough, if you don't do it, that's your fault. And so we certainly heard a consistent request from our investors as a U.S. cannabis company to move to the CSE.
Well, we appreciate the listing, and it's for the audience. If you're just tuning in, I'm here with Jen Drake from Air Strategies. She is the COO, and this is part of Cannabis Week 3.0. You can catch this interview and many others on Instagram TV after, of course, the show is done, as well as on YouTube, CSE_TV. And our listeners, the way I approach it with stock exchanges is that there's enough to go around, and we're all in the pool together, and we don't have enemies. We just have common friends, and um, it's that's the way it is. You win some, you lose some, and you know, we won air, so and we're really glad for it. But it's interesting to note that there are certain things that we were unable to do, and other exchanges are capable of doing. So that's I'm not going to say anything negative, or that's just the reality. So yeah, moving right along. Uh, let's see. Let's talk about food because that's what we do.
Interesting. Okay.
Where where are you right now as
hmm
far as food? What's around you?
So I'm actually, you can't see, I think you can see a little cottage behind me, but I'm right on the water on something called the Noyak
Hmm.
Bay.
Noyak
And
Bay. Okay.
Noyak Bay, yeah. And this whole area of Long Island is very famous for its fish, its fresh fish. And my personal favorite is the dayboat scallop. So I'm not sure if it really is from a day boat, but the scallops that you can get out here are incredibly delicious and fresh. The other day I had one that literally, not ceviche, not literally totally uncooked, just from the boat straight into my mouth.
Man,
Amazing. Like the best scallop sushi you've ever had in your life, but from a grizzly fisherman who's like the nicest, salt of the earth guy. It was awesome. Incredible. Really,
yeah,
really, really fun.
now I'm hungry. Shouldn't have asked that question. Um,
I hear you're
what's
a good cook, though. That's the word on the street.
yeah, well, I enjoy it.
Mm,
Um, now this is something I'm going to share.
mm,
There might be somewhere in TV land a cooking show
mm.
where I appeared on.
Ooh.
That's right. There was one episode, and it was called, I think, the Family Food Network Challenge,
Mm.
and we went up against another family. I'm not
Did
going to
you
tell you how
win?
it ends.
Oh,
I'm not going to tell you. No, you have to find it and watch it and
fair enough.
cheer and cheer. As well, me and a very good friend of mine, we participated in
Mm.
chili cook-offs years
Ooh.
ago, and we won.
Okay.
Um,
Nice.
yes, that's
Nice.
correct. We actually won 2 years in a row. Texas style chili,
hmm
um, all killer, no filler, just meat and sauce. So
Well, we could have an Air Strategies versus Canadian Securities Exchange chili cook-off. We could do that.
done, done.
Done. Done.
Our CEO Richard Carlton is also a wizard in the kitchen. So
Uh-huh.
I like our chances. Just saying.
Ooh. Okay. All right. We'll follow up on that later.
Yes. Let's let's get back to serious business. Um, moving forward, the rest of 2020,
Mm.
2021,
Yeah.
what does it look like as far as Air Strategies is concerned,
Mm.
and as far as the cannabis industry?
Well, I think COVID has really accelerated a lot of the trends that we expected to see in the cannabis space throughout 2020. It's kind of just brought them forward. So what you've really seen, we think, in the space so far this year and is going to accelerate is just a separation of those businesses that, can execute operationally well and can deliver on the promises they make to shareholders. And can show themselves to be not just good winners of licenses and builders of retail facilities and builders of cultivation, but actually good operators of those businesses who show strong kind of same store sales growth, strong ability to kind of improve their operations consistently over time. So that the hallmarks of true good operators, you'll start to see those companies kind of come to the top. Also, companies that can really generate cash flow and are in a strong kind of financial position on their balance sheets and in terms of their kind of ability to generate cash flow from operations, those companies will also rise to the top. And we think in the end there'll be, let's call it, 5 players who are really the key multi-state operators in the U.S.
Right.
And then you'll have a lot of other companies that are, will, be subscale and need to figure out what they want to kind of do with their lives. Now that's actually good for us. I mentioned a bit earlier how we started how we kind of started the business strategically, that we were very focused on being in the right states, being, cash flow positive in those states, having a material kind of critical mass presence in those states. We are very much ready to sort of take this show on the road to additional states and expand our footprint. We've committed to our shareholders to doing that in 2020, because even with our 2 states, we have some of the highest levels of revenue, EBITDA, and cash flow in the entire industry, because we're such good operators. And we're going to take that approach and that footprint to other states throughout this year. And it's going to be a great opportunity to do so, as you see that separation. Some of the companies that may have made some missteps in terms of capital allocation or not been efficient with their SG&A, maybe expenses that were too high, maybe spread themselves too thin, as long as the price is right and the value for our shareholders, because we're all about generating shareholder value, as long as the price is right and the value to our shareholders is compelling, there are a lot of great opportunities out there because companies are in distress.
You were mentioning about the United States. There's a federal election coming up in November.
That is true.
One, I want to touch on that. But equally important, you have a wish list. And on your wish list, it's either banking or legalization. What does Jen Drake want first?
So for 2021, I would want banking first. I would want banking first, and banking and it could take a lot of different. Forms, but the thing that's attractive about banking is, first of all, it's just an indication of additional mainstreaming of the sector. It's a nice interim step to showing
I like that. Additional mainstreaming.
Mainstreaming. You can use that. You can use that.
You can use
that royalty free. That's my gift to you. So it's additional mainstream. It's additional indication of mainstreaming, which is important. But from our standpoint, selfishly, I think we would love more time to expand out our footprint to additional states before federal legalization, because we have demonstrated ourselves to be such good operators. We would like the opportunity to do that in a couple more states before the capital totally rushes into the sector. And there will be benefits to the capital rushing into the sector for sure. I mean, cost of capital will go down, share prices will go way up. And we think it'll be great for operators like ourselves because as you get more mainstream and traditional valuation metrics coming into the sector, people will care a lot about cash flow. People will care a lot about people who are able to generate high EBITDA margins. We're, I think, the highest or second highest EBITDA margins in the country now. People will care about your cultivation yields, your cost per gram, in a way that they don't care as much, I think, today, because you don't have the same level of, let's call it professional investors in the US addressing the sector. So all of those things will be good for us. I think we would just love to be able to get a few more states under our belt before it happens.
Excellent answer. And what other states are you looking at? Are you allowed to say?
Oh, for sure. It's funny. Yeah. I talked about like our, strategy and the way we were thinking about building our business with the initial acquisitions, with that first 100 million that we raised.
Right.
The criteria that we had for that: vertical integration possible, best in class operators, cash flow positive, limited license regimes. Those really only applied to 2 states when we started. And the beauty of the opportunity set today is that it applies to so many more states. You could list a ton of states that are, recreationally legal or about to be. whether it's everything from Illinois, Michigan, Arizona, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Florida. Tons of opportunities today that really 2 years ago, no one would have said, oh, for sure Illinois is going to go legal in 2021. No one would have said, oh, sorry, in 2020. No one would have said that in 2018.
Right.
The world is just much broader in terms of the states where we can build a material presence and kind of build critical mass. Now, we'd love to cluster and penetrate. We love this idea of being able to have contiguous states or states that are close to each other because we think that builds brands very well. But the key for us is to be able to still have those best-in-class operators that are cash flow positive, because again, strong foundation is the way you build a strong business in these highly regulated, capital-intensive sectors.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for those answers. And we're approaching the top of the hour. I've left comments on. Almost knocked the Japanese screen down. I've left comments on.
Yeah.
If anybody has a quick question they would like to ask, now is the time, or forever hold your peace. But of course, you can always send an email to myself or Jen. Make sure to follow Air Strategies on Instagram and Canadian Exchange. We just changed our handle on Instagram not too long ago. Nope, no questions. And if you do have questions, please, this is a family show. Keep it clean. Stay classy, San Diego.
Nice.
We had a brief chat yesterday. What kind of books are you reading? What do you like?
Wow. Gosh. I just finished a book that I really liked called CSE, which is about the goddess who tries to lure Odysseus to her island and keep him there forever. Doesn't sound like it would be a great book, but it is one of the best books I've read in a while. Just super entertaining, really well written, really interesting. And I'm about to start a book, so that's kind of fiction, but I'm about to start a book that a lot of people have recommended called The Splendid and the Vile, which is about Chamberlain during World War II, which is also coming super highly recommended. So I'm excited to have that, as well as a little bit of fiction, a little bit of nonfiction. And I'm a nut for reading the New York Post. Quite nerdy.
The New York Post.
Love it. Love it. It's a little bit of gossip, a little bit of Page Six, a little bit of
no
throwing some mud at
judgment
the
here.
governor.
No.
It's great.
I lived in Brooklyn a lifetime ago, so no judgment. I was strictly New York Times. So
yeah. I'm only Post these days. It's bad. It's bad. And a little journal. That's fine. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jen, and thank you to our audience, listeners, viewers, watchers, passerbys. Please check out this interview on CSE_TV on YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as the home website, www.thecse.com. Now, Jen, if somebody wanted to reach you or members of your staff, where should they go?
So our website,
besides Long Island,
airstrategies.com, has an investor section, and all of our contact information is there in the investor section of our website. We love to hear from people. So if people have questions or just want to follow up generally, there's a lot of info there, and plenty of opportunity to kind of connect with us directly.
Well, shout out to our CSE team. There's Phil and Anil and Grace and James, and I'm not sure who else is here. If I missed anybody, I apologize. Marianne was here. She's our CFO, trial by fire, came in right as a week after COVID, maybe two.
Wow.
So
Mm.
yeah, we haven't officially met her yet. We've only talked to her online. Um,
That's great. Wow.
but yeah, she's been giving a lot of
Mm.
support. So on that, I will conclude I guess, the second last interview for Cannabis Week 3.0. Jennifer, thank you so much for taking the time, for giving your insights and all of those things. We appreciate it. We appreciate your listening. And most importantly, for you and your loved ones, please stay safe and,
Thank you.
you know, practice social distancing, wash your hands, all of those things.
Well, thanks so much for having us. We appreciate the opportunity to have a chat, and it's been a phenomenal experience being on the CSE. So thank you.
Thank you.